Hi, my 4B detectives. Happy Monday. Woo, woo, woo. This week, we are going to be doing lesson number 17 with Journeys. This should be your last packet that I gave you. I was only able to give you a few a couple weeks ago, but I will do my best to try and get you something similar to this and send it to you starting next week and for before spring break and then after spring break if need be. But hopefully, we'll be able to get back to our paper copies soon. But before we get started on that, I want to show you everything we're going to be doing. This week, we are going to be talking about traveling. So, traveling, you can do it in so many ways. And today's story, we're going to be learning about what are some different ways to travel. Now, if you think about it, your main way that you travel is by a car or a bus, and also walking. But some of you might bike places, you might go ride a boat, you might ride an airplane, especially if you want to go to Disney World. You could drive, but it would take you a long time. So then you have to think of what's the best way to travel, the quickest way, the way that costs the least amount of money. There's so many different ways you need to think about when thinking about traveling. So we're going to be reading about traveling this week. And for social studies, which we'll talk more about tomorrow, you are going to be learning about famous explorers. These explorers are known for their ways of traveling, whether by foot, by boat, by plane, like Amelia Earhart, who I learned about last week for Women's History Month. You're going to be learning about explorers. We're also learning about travel, different types of travel, and what you think would be the best. And on Friday, we'll be mushing it all together in our last lesson of the week. So before we get to this week's lesson or this week's story, let me tell you what you need to get out. You need your Journeys book. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'll tell you which page to go to. You need your Unit 17 packet, and you need some paper, whether it's a Post-it note or a blank sheet of paper, so that we can do our alphabetical order. Since we normally don't read the story until Tuesdays in class, but we're reading it today on Mondays. Normally on Mondays, we learn the sound of the week and the words of the week. So, since that's our normal routine, let's learn those two things first before we jump into our story. That way, we can be the best detectives and find everything we need to in our story for the day. So, take out your Unit 17 packet and let's learn our sound of the week and our words of the week. Okay, here is our packet of the week. And since you know we've been learning about vowels, which are A, E, I, O, and U, you know, looking at these set of words that are long sound must be the long E. And just like the long O, which we learned last week, there are some words that have the long E sound in a long word, but some of them are only 2 letters long. And by partnering with that consonant, it's able to say its long name or its real name. And the special thing about this packet, Magic E is not playing that big of a part. I see it here where the Magic E is helping E say its name in these. But in these words, see what I did there? In these words, Magic E has been switched up for partners like E and A, which make the E sound, or double E, which makes the E sound. You'll have to be very careful when reading this week, because as a detective, you now need to know that Magic E is not the only thing that makes a word say its name. There's also vowel pairs, like E and A, and repeated letters. So if the E is coming twice, like E and eat, feet, then it's going to be saying its name there too. So we're going to read these words, And hopefully you find them in our story. Hopefully you find them in your reading. Let me know if you find any of our spelling words or even of our words of the week, which we'll look at in a second, because that way I can know that your detective brain is really working. So we have me, be, and this is I will be at school on Monday. Be. It's not B-E-E, which would be the bumblebee. So be careful. Be careful. Say when you're reading this word. Read. Read. The reason I knew that this word was read and not read is because we're talking about the long E sound. But I'm sure a bunch of you have realized that read can also be spelled the exact same way and be in the past. I read that book. E-A, they're very interesting partners. Sometimes they'll say a long E sound, sometimes they'll say a long A sound. There's not many ways to tell which one it's going to be. That's just the perfect time to use Flippy Dolphin. If you don't remember Flippy Dolphin, that's where if a vowel pair or a digraph, whatever it is, whatever letter sound, if it doesn't sound right, and you're saying, I read the book right now, oh, that doesn't make sense because read means I already did it. So if I'm doing it right now, it must be the other sound. So instead of read, it's read. I read the book right now. That makes more sense. So try and use Flippy Dolphin if you ever come into this situation. Let's keep going. Eat, feet. Oh, here's a blend. TR makes the tr sound. Tr, E, tree. K, eep, keep. Eat, eat. In, mean. S, e, see. And this one, I'm going to draw my waves, is the ocean sea. Not, oh, I can see you there. And lastly, these. There's our digraph. These. So these words are what would be your spelling words. These are going to help you practice your long E sound. You have the whole week to work on this. Don't rush through it. But you can see that we have a lot of long E words here. But we also have words to know that'll be in our story. So in order to know these words and to be able to do this page in your packet, let's get to know the words of the week. Ta-da! Here are this week's words. We have a bunch of words this week. You know, we typically have 6 in class, but we're going along with 8 since we're not going to have to worry about focusing on them while also doing some other things in the classroom. You have more time now to work on this week's words, and I really hope you're able to find all 8 of them in your stories that you'll be reading, whether on Epic or books from your own library. Let's get started. We have sure, be, maybe, about, oh, about. Oh, I see this apostrophe. That's what we call the flying comma. This apostrophe puts 2 words together in a contraction. Do not. Do not becomes don't. So we have don't. Car. Well, that's definitely good for traveling. Oh, a lot of you will know this. This is in the ud family, like would or should. So this is could. Could. I could not drive my car anywhere because I ran out of gas. Ooh, the air, there. And by, which we have the Y is making that I sound in that partnership. So I, by. So, oh, there we go. So here are our 8 words of the week. Sure, maybe, about, don't, car, could, there, and by. These are all being used in our story today, which we're going to read in a second. But I want to see if you can find any of these in your books. Maybe you will be reading about a car. I am sure you could find these words there. That's the best I could do. I couldn't think don't and buy. I'm going to leave these here for a second because this is where your blank sheet of paper comes in. I want you, either right now, you can pause the video, or you can wait until after the video and after the story to do it, but I want you to be able to put this week's words in alphabetical order. You can use a Post-it note, you can use a piece of paper, but make sure you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the 8 words we have. When you're doing alphabetical order, you have to be very careful that you go from A all the way to Z and say, is there an A word? Is there a B word? If there's not, you can keep going. But if there is, make sure you put them in that order, A, B, C order. Now I do see 2 C's right here, car and could. When you have a word, or 2 words, I mean, that have the first letter matching, you need to move to the second letter and do alphabetical order that way. A and O would be the words you'd compare now. Which one comes first? It's up to you to figure it out. I know that there's an A word, about, right here. So my first word must be about. Knowing that, you can take about out of the way and move down the line of the alphabet. Is there a B word? Is there a C word? How many? 2, right? So we know that 2 of these are going to be taken up by C words. I'll give you a chance to work on this. You can pause the video or you can just write down the words. If this video goes too fast for you though, don't worry, because at the beginning of the journey story, it will tell you all the words of the week. And you can look back there if you didn't catch it in my video. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so hopefully you paused it, or you're a speedy writer, or you're waiting for me to get on with it, Miss Remitz. But I also wanted to show you what the long E alphabetical order would be. So we don't have 8 words, we actually have 10. 5 plus 5 equals 10. So make sure that you don't stop at 8, you add 9 and 10 down here too. You are going to have the long E sound, but that doesn't mean that these words have different orders. They still go in alphabetical order. Is there an A word? No. Is there a B word? Oh, yes, B. So you know that B would be the first word on your list. I'm going to give you time to do this as well today, and then either on Thursday or Friday, I am going to tell you the answers to both alphabetical orders that we did today. But for now, you are going to now start, detectives, looking for this week's words and our sound of the week in our story. We're also going to be learning about types of travel through the conversation of our characters in today's story. So get out your book. Okay, so now that you've got your book, if you would go to page 53, 52, you'll see the big trip. Our main character is this little Piggy here, and Piggy wants to go on a trip. He wants to travel. To travel means to go out to new places, see new things, but to be somewhere different from home. And so that's what Piggy's going to do. He's going to go on a very big trip. So it must be very exciting for him. It must not be a tiny thing to him. It's a big deal, which means it means a lot to him. If you needed the words of the week, you can go back 1, go back 2 pages, and you'll see words to know, and all 8 of them will be here. Thankfully, not in alphabetical order. They also have example sentences though, so that's fun. But back to the big trip for us. This is a fiction story, as you can tell, it's cartoons, but it's going to be teaching us in a way about different types of travel. So maybe you can compare and contrast, which means see how they're the same and different all these different types of travel. Don't forget, detectives, to keep watch. All right. Oh, I see quotes immediately. So I know that this is not going to be the narrator right away. This is going to be a character talking. And I can see here that says Pig said to Goat. So I know Pig must be talking. I'm going to give Pig a voice and Goat a voice. You can try that at home too. I'm going to take a trip far away, Pig said to Goat one day. How will you go? Asked Goat. Let me think for a moment, said Pig. Maybe I will go by bike. That will be a very nice trip. Oh dear, said Goat. You could fall off a bike. All right, we're done our first section of the story. And I'm sure you're all going, Miss Remitz, look, I see some yellow words. Yes, when you see a word highlighted, that means that it's one of our words of the week. Maybe I will go by bike. So to go buy something means not with money, it means how you are going to be traveling. So he's traveling on a bike. So he's going somewhere by using a bike. That will be a very nice trip. But he said maybe. So he hasn't decided he's going. He's just saying, I'm going to do this one day. And he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know how he will get there because Goat's asking him immediately, oh, but how will you go? So I'm interested to see how these friends talk to each other in this story because it seems like Pig has a really excited dream. He really wants to go on a trip. But already instead of saying, oh, that'll be fun, Goat is already asking questions about what's going to be bad about it because you can see he goes, oh dear, said Goat, you could fall off a bike. And that would be very dangerous. So you could do it. You might not. You might be fine. You might be safe, but you could fall off a bike and get hurt. So he's reminding him already of the things that could go wrong on his trip. Ooh, always reading what it says in a picture. And this says exit only. So it seems like he's leaving. If you've ever been on a big road like the turnpike, an exit is where you go off a highway into like towns and villages. Ah, said Pig. Then I will drive a car. Now we really know this is fiction because animals are driving. It's not a good idea, Pig, said Goat. A car can break down. So there he is at nighttime. That would be very dangerous at night having your car break down. So what he means by break down is that the car stops moving and he can't drive it anymore. If you want to go the extra mile, if you're up to the challenge, this says, how do Pig and Goat each feel about taking a trip by car? How does Pig feel about driving a car? And how does Goat feel by driving a car? If you want to know the answer, read what they're saying here. They each have a different opinion. Oh, said Pig, then I will go by horse on my trip. I'm not sure about that, said Goat. Horses can be very jumpy. So I like it because on one page, it's Pig's dream and what he's seeing. And on the next page, it shows us what Goat thinks will happen. And this is also funny because if an animal is riding an animal, that's super fiction. But every time Pig's saying, oh, okay, then I'll do this, or oh, okay, then I'll do this. I love Pig. I love this story because even though Pig is being told, don't do that, he still wants to go on his trip. Whereas Goat is telling him all the bad things that'll happen, but Pig still wants to go. Miss Remitz, oh, what is it? I found 2 words. Oh, great. So we have sure. To be sure means to know something, and about. So it means what you know, the topic you know. I'm not sure about that. So to not be sure of something means you think something bad will happen. You're not confident. Okay, said Pig. Then I'm going to go by a donkey cart. A donkey is very quiet. Oh, so a donkey would bring him. Again, it's another animal. I think that's so silly. Uh-oh, what does Goat want? Not good, not good, said Goat. Donkeys can be very stubborn. If you know what stubborn means, you can probably see why that donkey is being stubborn right now. If you don't know what stubborn means, here, let me explain. To be stubborn means you won't do something even if someone asks you. Or if someone is saying, no, I'm sure about it, I'm sure about it. Somebody who is stubborn won't listen to them and they're not going to change their mind. So Pig is trying to say, let's go this way, let's go this way. And the donkey is saying, no, no, I won't go. And the donkey's staying where he is. Ugh, how annoying. Well, then I will go by train, said Pig. You can see all the different ways of traveling. We've had a cart, a car, a bike, horseback. Now we're on a train. Sheesh. Oh, Pig, said Goat. A train could get stuck in a tunnel. I don't know about you, but that is not going to happen. Trains are really trustworthy and they don't break down that easily. So I think Goat's just really running out of ideas. If Goat doesn't want him to go on the trip, Goat should just say so. I would like my friends to be honest. Good point, Goat, said Pig. Then I will fly by plane. What if the engine stops? Said Goat. You'd have to parachute. True, said Pig. Then I will go by hot air balloon. They didn't even show the parachuting because I guess that was such a big deal. But a parachute keeps people safe. So I don't know why he would be so scared about that. Oh, there he is parachuting. I think that looks fine. But look, another thing, they say no planes, no hot air balloon. Well, let's see why no hot air balloon. The hot air balloon could have a hole, said Goat. Okay, I will not travel by land, I will not travel by air. I will go by sea, said Pig. On a ship. Oh, so he's going to take a boat. Ooh, if you want to know here, it says, how do you know Goat and Pig are speaking? What do they say? So I knew that they were speaking because I saw said pig or said goat, and I knew to change my voice for that. You'll have to be very careful when you're reading so that you know which character's talking. Oh no! Exclaimed Goat. That means yelling. You can see the exclamation point. Don't do it! The ship could run into a reef when passing through a fog, or run into a heavy storm at sea. And there are sharks all around at sea. So many you couldn't count them. Geez, don't do it. So now he's really telling him that he doesn't like this idea. And he's saying, there are sharks. Where? There in the water. And look how scared Pig would be if that happened. And you could find yourself alone on a desert island in the middle of the ocean with pirates that could come up on the desert island by pirate ship. Phew, a pirate ship? So he just wants to go on a little trip. For all we know, he's just going to the beach. But Goat's telling him all the bad things that could go wrong. This kind of reminds me of if you give a mouse a cookie. It's if you let Pig go on a trip, what will happen? And Goat's coming up with all these bad reasons. Let's see what happens next. Stop! 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 Exclaimed Pig. And if you don't know what exclaiming looks like, that is exactly it. He has his mouth open, he's screaming at him. You can't really see, but he has his paw out, his hoof. He's going, stop, stop, stop. And he looks shocked as can be. I don't know about you, but I think Pig has had enough. I could fall off a bike, break down in a car, get thrown by a horse, never get there with a donkey, or get stuck on a train. I might have to parachute from a plane or from a hot air balloon, and traveling by ship could bring me many troubles. So, I will not go anywhere, said Pig. Having a big trip is a very scary thing. And that's really sad because now Pig's not going to go. And I think it's because Goat was trying to help him, but just making him feel so bad. Let's see what Goat says, because I see it says said Goat looking at Pig. So we know he's going to try and say something. Unless ... You go with a friend. The end. Boop. So, I love this story because I think it's so much fun. I love that Pig wants to go out on an adventure. I love watching all the pictures of him going on different traveling, but then something going wrong. But what I don't like about it is that Goat could have just said, "Can I come with you?" I don't think Goat is going to make it easier for him just by going along. The car could still break down, the donkey could still be stubborn, you'd have two people on a deserted island. I think this book's a little silly, but what it's not silly with is all the different ways to travel. I love it. We have boats, we have hot air balloons, planes, trains, donkeys, horses, cars, and bicycles. There is a handful of ways to travel here, and I think that that is a perfect example of a story that teaches you about all different ways to travel. And what Goat is kind of doing in a nice way is saying what traveling is good, but also what can go wrong with traveling and what you have to be careful of and prepared of in case something goes wrong. This week, we are going to be learning about explorers that went by boat or they went by, maybe by plane or train or by bike or walked. So we're going to be learning about different explorers, but we're also going to be reading another story or two about travel and the good traveling and the bad traveling. So I hope you enjoyed this story. Try reading it on your own. Now that we're getting towards the end of the school year, our journey stories are longer and they're a little harder. This one was a little more difficult because it had two characters talking to each other. If you want to be a great reader, you need to practice reading this out loud, changing your voices, reading that question mark or exclamation point, looking for all those words of the week, looking for those long E sounds. That is how you'll be second and third grade ready, is by practicing that story. So I hope you practice this story, learn your words of the week, and put not only them, but your spelling words in alphabetical order. And I hope you get started on your packet for the week. Those are your journeys, assignments, your missions for today and this week. And I wish you the best of luck. You'll get some answers towards the end of the week. Bye.